Recently, I was inspired to consider if I were starting over again, what are the first supplies that I would purchase for card making? Hi, I'm Jess from jesscrafts.com, and I'm here to help you make the most of your crafty supplies in time. So today I want to think about if I were starting over again, which it was more like 7 supplies I would purchase over again. I was recently thinking of the idea of, okay, if I could only use 5 supplies, I was talking about it with another crafter, but then there was the caveat, but scissors wouldn't count, paper wouldn't count, adhesive wouldn't count. And I was like, I would be pretty content pretty quickly with this 5 items if I could check off a couple of those things. But I thought it'd be helpful to share specifically what I would purchase. With my 15 plus years of experience, what would I immediately go replace? And my list comes to $125 thereabout, which is not very cheap. So any of you who got into card making and thought, I'm going to save so much money, you can buy 125 cards from the dollar store, maybe twice as much, I don't know, for that price. So that's what that is. But anyway, I would start with my Swingline trimmer. There's other trimmers out there that are cheaper. This one's about $35, but I would never have to replace the blades, so I kind of consider it a little bit more of an investment piece. I did, after 10 years, replace a Swingline trimmer. Somebody cut something on it that shouldn't have been cut on it, and it caused a nick in the blade, which then meant that there was like a little portion of the blade that never cut as well since it was damaged. So it can be damaged, but if you're only cutting paper with it, it won't be. I would buy my ATG again. I know not everyone likes it. It's my Scotch Advanced Tape Glider. The refills are really inexpensive, although the initial investment. This is regular price $50. I found it on sale for $35 through Michael's, and they do regularly have sales, so I'm fairly confident you could find it at a discount through a big retailer like that if you needed to. But it's just been a workhorse for me. I have used it for, I would say, 12 of those years. And so I know that a lot of people kind of hesitate with it. If that's something that happens for you, I have a link in the video description to a video where I talk a lot about this, my tips and tricks, and so you might find that helpful. I also have a little pattern that you can use to decorate your ATG because mine is personalized. But yeah, if I could only pick one adhesive, I'm still gonna go back to my ATG. It's expensive. If I was on a very limited budget, if someone said, you could restart, but you only have $25, well, yeah, I'm not gonna buy this because I wouldn't be able to afford even just this. I would probably pick the scrapbook.com Artiste glue or the Barely Art glue and just stick with the glue because they tend to be cheaper. I'm going to get my cutter bee scissors again. Even though I have a paper trimmer, I still think scissors are pretty important. I use them all the time and I can't imagine life without them. I know it sounds so silly. You're like, why don't you use your household scissors? Detail scissors matter. I have a whole video about why your scissor matters. I know that sounds crazy, but we're paper crafters. We take our adhesive seriously, we take our scissors seriously. All crafters do, so I'll leave you that too. Explain a little bit why about this is the perfect, particularly detail scissor. But yeah, I'm gonna buy my cutter bees in a heartbeat, no problem, about $10. The discussion that I was having with someone, I haven't actually even picked anything that they didn't consider kind of a given for the 5 supplies. We weren't specifically talking about if, you had nothing. But, my scissors here, just for my camera to focus, a big blank white space is hard. This is Accent Opaque 100-pound cardstock. I find this on Amazon. This is what I like to use for my card bases. If I all of a sudden had no cardstock for card bases, I'm gonna go buy a 200 pack. Sometimes can be hard to find, so I might be disappointed. But, when I looked it up, just because, again, I was just trying to kind of see how much it would cost to restart. It was about $13 for 200 sheets, which is pretty good. That's going to get me 400 A2 size cards. So I would, in a heartbeat, buy it. It's bright white. It's thick enough that it stands up on its own, which is pretty important to me. I'm going to go buy a pack of decent quality colored cardstock because I like using it. I'm going to buy a multi-pack. I get a lot of Recollections. Recollections paper is not perfect. It's not even perfectly 8.5 by 11, which is kind of a bummer, but it's good for the price. It's solid core. Park Lane, which is sold at Joann's, also has a lot of colors. I'm sorry, but this is very much for an American audience, and I'm sorry to all the international people because I realize this is like not super helpful in terms of the very specificness of the supplies, but hopefully the general concept. But yeah, the Joann's, they sell a lot more colors in a single pack, so I guess if I could only buy one pack, I would go to Joann's and buy a Park Lane. But they have white core, which is not my favorite. I prefer solid core cardstock. So, you know, you could get it from many, many sources, but I also like thicker cardstock. You can get 65-pound weight at Michael's. To me, it's just really flimsy. It doesn't die cut very well. Like, it die cuts easily because it's thin, but like, it's just, I find that I bend it easily. It doesn't give the card a lot of weight. I know that's a personal thing. I know that it's more expensive, and so I'm not trying to like knock the 65-pound. I'm not saying don't buy it. It's just, it's not for me, and I prefer that like 100-pound, 80-pound minimum range for any cardstock that I work with. And then I'm gonna buy pattern paper and coordinating embellishments. I'm sure that's everyone's shocked and surprised face that like after I got through the basics, the first thing I was gonna go do was buy pretty paper. Of course, like I love stamps and stamping, but like if I wanna go stamp on a card, I'm like, okay, I need to buy a stamp, I need to buy ink, I need to buy a stamp block, I need to buy something to color it with. Like we're getting a lot of supplies really fast. If I'm limited, if I'm, you know, I don't know, living in a tiny house, I don't know what the scenario is, but I'm gonna buy pattern paper and coordinating embellishments. I might even need to buy the coordinating embellishments. Like most pattern paper nowadays actually has like little accents in them, so I could probably sit here and make a whole bunch of cards before I even needed to open an embellishment pack and be happy. Like, sure, sentiment, you're like, well, you know, what are you gonna put on the sentiment or off the card? And I'm like, well, you don't even need a sentiment. You could make a card just kind of cute and pretty on the outside and then take a pen and write on the inside, because I'm going to assume I have pens in whatever this imaginary scenario is. And you could even, you know, write a sentiment in a pen. So I'm not going to jump to stamps as fast as some other people probably would, just because I know myself. And if I'm going to start card making, I'm going to do it with paper. And then I'm going to have a caveat. This is something that you technically wouldn't have to buy. I don't know. It's a weird one. I'm going to print my paper busting templates again. I'm starting from scratch. I luckily have them all electronically, so I'm going to be good. They're all on jesscrafts.com. I have them saved to the cloud and all that, so I'm not going to have to worry about that. But I'm going to restart my template book because this is what I use. This is what helps me craft all of the time. And I know, again, it's not for everyone, but I'm talking about what I would personally do. And I think it's great for beginners. You could take a pack of paper, some embellishments, and whatever coordinating templates, and just start making a card, because I've done all the work for you in a sense of like, I've given you the measurements. You just cut it, you assemble it, it tells you exactly how to assemble it, it tells you all the measurements that you need, and then go for it, embellish it. There's so much creativity left, and there's so much creativity even in the decision about what pattern to use and what colors and, you know, how to mix the patterns and all that. But it's such a great starting out point that I would absolutely recommend somebody who's like, do I even like card making, to start by making a card that is directed like this, so you can see if it like is even appealing to you before. I mean, everyone says, I've heard a lot of people say like when they saw heat embossing, they fell in love with card making, and I can totally see that. Heat embossing is a super cool technique, but it's also very fussy. And so I'd be afraid that somebody would try heat embossing first and get really discouraged because they don't get the results that they saw someone else get. So yeah, pattern paper is my first love and my continuous love with crafting. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to print out these templates. Like I said, they're all at jesscrafts.com. There's going to be a link in the video description. Click on that and you can start kind of sorting through the templates. But if you're new and you were like, hey, I'd love all those templates, I'd like to make a really cool binder like that. I don't even know what some of these notes say. Hopefully nothing weird. Then you can go to my Etsy shop and you can download like packs of the templates, and then there's an expense there. So you could get them for free if you want to go through and download each and every little one, or you can buy them in some packs to kind of get you started. You can also buy these decorations that I have for the outside of my binders. There's like spines, covers, back cover, you know, just to make it cute, because again, like I said, I'm gonna make this binder again. It's One of the first things I do. I mean, I guess I need a color printer for that, but I'll find one. I'll go to the library. I'm going to figure it out. If you were starting again, what would you buy? How would you do it differently? Because we're probably all going to buy like a trimmer, adhesive, but you know, some of those basic things, leave us some comments. Let us know what your favorites are, because I think it's kind of good to see what a couple different people think, because this is obviously just like my opinion and experience. If you like this video, here's another video where you can find more ideas for enjoying your crafty time and supplies. Let me know that you like this video with a share to your crafty community. Subscribe and click the bell so you don't miss the next template or tutorial, and check the video description for all those links I mentioned. See you in the next video.